Broadcast. Welcome to the Zaner MarketCast, your one and only spot to keep up with all of the agricultural market news. I am Joe Nikruto, and I'm here with
Dan Hussey.
Dan, what do you say?
Great end of the week, I think, right? I think left a pretty good smile on everyone's face, not to just hop right into it, but, you know, that was a close for, I think, producers that we all wanted and needed to see, you know, just too far too long, right? Too far too long. Good.
Downside.
Get a little pressure off here into a long weekend, right? We're going to get grilling for Labor Day. Enjoy the last final piece of summer here before, boy, aren't we going to start talking about harvest soon?
Harvest any week now, and frost, and maybe frost, maybe not frost. You and I are on the same spectrum at different ends. I dropped a kid off at college over the weekend. Off she went to the next stage of the adventure. But you are getting ready to have a baby. Could be any minute.
Yeah, literally opposite sides of the life
Isn't
spectrum
that something?
there right now. Yeah, any minute now. Love you, Shannon, my wife, slogging through the Friday in high school here with her students. Almost 9 months pregnant. We're ready to go any minute here. Just let's bring this baby boy. Let's bring him home happy, healthy. But yeah, you don't know when it's going to be the last time you see me for a week or two.
Because of course you're going to go on maternity leave,
no
right?
sleep,
Yeah,
right?
you're going to go on maternity leave. Absolutely. So everybody wants to wish Dan congratulations ahead of time. It's going to go terrific, super smooth.
Get to the finish
Second
line, right?
one's always easy peasy, I think. So good luck, Dan.
Thank you, Joe.
Let's jump into the numbers, huh?
Yeah.
You were talking this weekly close that we see here on the chart. You are absolutely right. Corn opened the week at 390 3/4. The high was 401 3/4. Low trade I saw was 385, as well as the close 401 1/2, up 10 1/2. Funds allegedly, we estimate they're short 264,000 contracts. Over 4, over the 10 and the 18. 10 394 3/4, 18 396.
I think so. And that's right about where that downward sloping trend line is. I mean, the 18-day in that trend line, 20-day moving average, whatever, pick your flavor there, right? It's all the same kind of technical daily trend indicator. Ooh, hopefully that was a big boom on the mic that we've been watching. And we use to define trends across the whole commodity space. That's a favorite of our desk.
So volume not increasing. We always look at volume. We like to see price and volume moving in the same direction.
Right.
Volume casts some aspersion on this outside week close. We'll have to see if volume follows after the long weekend. We reopen on Monday night.
You'd hate to see this be this peekaboo moment, right? Because it's into a long weekend. Weird activity, kind of the end of the quarter, month, all that stuff. People will throw all of those excuses if this doesn't work out, we don't get good follow through next week, right? Not to say that we won't. For all intents and purposes, to close this week, you should probably expect a little bit of green next week. And if you're not seeing that right away, right, from a technical perspective, nothing else, right? Because the technical and fundamental pictures are, kind of, I don't want to say telling different stories, but certainly, right, there's a little bit of a conversation with all three listeners or viewers who we all may feel like we have been here before. I think Dan and I have sat in these very seats 3 or 4 times with technical facts on display in front of us on the chart, and then you show back up and shabong. So we'll see. Beans. You did point out, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but we were talking about it, and I thought it was a really interesting fact. And Hightower was also pointing out that drop in open interest, right? You saw a big drop in September open interest, not unexpected into the end of a contract, all of that good stuff, right? But you'd expect that open interest in December to really pick up if it was, 1, reflecting a new crop contract, and 2, people that were in a position in September were actually rolling that interest out. But net in the open interest among the entire corn, futures curve, we lost some position in the market here this last week, right? So interesting that's happening alongside this little bit of a rally. Could we see fund activity that's curbing out? That's something to pay attention to in these weekly commitment traders numbers now. Technical
fan that I am, I do not claim to be any kind of professional technical analyst, but I've only been watching charts since 1992. I am left confused by the rather dramatic. Hightower called it precipitous decline in open interest, highlighting like 35,000 yesterday, 100 some thousand throughout the week. Big numbers in open interest going away. And so what does that mean? Who covered and who has stepped aside? But my guess, my further suspicion is that we will see an answer to that next week as these positions possibly come back on. And will they be reinitiating short positions? Will we be looking to cover short positions further? I don't know. I'll be interested to see. I guess we'll just have to show up and find out.
It's the dialogue and the discussion we're having of things to watch, right? I mean, none of us are going to sit here and claim that we have the magic solution to where the market's going to go. All we're doing, it's like we're scientists looking at the data, making the best hypothesis and guesses, and having that open-ended, non-biased discussion about where the market could go, given all the things we can look at.
That is right. Beans for November, the open 965, high was 1007 3/4, low 960 1/2. Close, I saw 999, not 10, 999.
Such a
however,
couldn't give it to the weekly options.
However, that's up 26 on the week, whereas D's corn was up 10.5. Great weekly change. Nova beans up 26. Funds short 180,000 contracts. 10-day moving average 980, 18-day moving average 982 1/4. So you got your moving averages. We closed over the moving averages. That was great.
Yeah.
Volume increasing on this. What I assume to be short covering rally. Volume is increasing, so maybe that works in the favor of the bulls, but still no close over $10. And my non-scientific thought is if you don't close over $10, it's still all bar talk.
It's certainly a big, psychological level.
Big number.
We did take out, the 18-day moving average and, those some other technical levels, right? But the big level that we're all eyeing, that big $10 mark, right? Because you don't spend much time around 11, so if you're going to go back up, you might, you could catch a bit.
Bean chart, and here again, we've been here before, but bean chart, surprisingly productive price action for the week. We're out over the high from 2 weeks ago.
Higher highs, higher lows.
It looks great, and so we got to come back next week and see if we continue that.
I can hear the export bulls chirping in the chat and everywhere.
20
right?
cents cheaper.
Hey, I don't think there's anything wrong saying that, but we need to see that continue. What if next week after a holiday, playing devil's advocate, we see a really quiet week for exports, right? After this rally up, is that the Raptors testing the fence, so to speak, from Jurassic Park? Is that China or our export partners coming in and testing our market to see how much, that purchasing will do and move the market, put in a floor? If they don't want that, we might see a week or two of quiet exports, right, while they try to let prices drop. But I'm just speculating and just giving you, kind of my best guess as to how and why what we're seeing all these things coming together, right?
Wheat opened at 531 1/2 for the week. High was 553 1/2, low 520 3/4. Last trade I saw was 552, up 24 in D's wheat, right?
Might be the chart of the week kind of thing. Beans could arguably be there with wheat, but wheat looking pretty good off of its lows.
Funds still short 56,000 contracts. 10-day moving average 541 3/4. We closed well above that. 18-day moving average 548 3/4. We closed well above that. Weekly reversal, no such luck. 568 would have been weekly reversal, but our close at 552 and our high of 553 1/2. No dice. Wheat bulls. But again, here's another chart that has some productive price action happening, and whether that's short covering or whether this is some sort of relief rally after what has been a lot of downside price action over the course of the last month remains to be seen. But 3-day weekend for market participants to think about it. We don't reopen until Monday night. Did we say that already? Monday night?
Yeah, right. Monday night for our grains and row crops and ag products.
So technically,
and hard open Monday morning.
Technically, do we miss anything here? What do you think? Beans, wheat, corn. What do we got going on here? It feels like maybe some sort of relief across the entire complex, the ag complex.
Yeah, it's looking and feeling pretty good at this point. I'm happy with the progress the market's making off the lows. We could just put a little shameless plug out there as a call to action to producers. Hey, if you haven't gotten sales done yet, if you're thinking about it, reason to pull the trigger. We're starting to approach good levels that are, reasonable to think about, structuring some of those sales on the way back up here, and thinking about taking care of some of that risk management that maybe you got caught off guard earlier in the year. It's still not too late to do some of that stuff. So give us a call. We're always here to talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
The information's always free.
Absolutely. So as we jump into stories of the week, DTN, Chris Clayton, corn, bean leaders frustrated over stalled farm bill as crop prices drop. I would say with cash corn and soybean prices 30% below year-ago levels, farm leaders Tuesday at the Farm Progress Show were frustrated that the farm bill is stalled and will likely remain that way until after the November election. We've been fighting this battle for a while now, and we've got to get something done, said Jed Bauer, a farmer in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. There's been a tremendous amount of effort and energy we've spent in Washington trying to explain the importance of this to farmers, to have a reliable farm bill that we can work with that provides certainty. A year ago, the average cash price in corn was $5.03 a bushel. That has fallen now to a national average of just under $3.50 a bushel. Ooh. A month ago, the corn index was closer to $3.90 a bushel for beans. Last year, farmers getting an average of $13.69. That has collapsed to $9.34. Under the bill that cleared the House Agricultural Committee in May, the price loss coverage PLC statutory reference price would increase 10 to 20%. Boosting the statutory reference price will then boost the calculation used to create the effective reference price. House bill also increases the ag risk coverage, ARC revenue guarantee from 86% to 90% of the benchmark revenue. House bill and the Senate frameworks also increase the maximum payment rate for ARC county to 12.5% of benchmark revenue. Boosting the agricultural economy includes not only raising reference prices, but also beefing up the funding for trade programs, such as the Market Access Program, Foreign Market Development Program, often referred to as MAP and FMD. The House bill doubles funding for both of those programs, doubles funding for both of those programs.
I like hearing those types of things.
Right now, what we're being told is they're kind of wanting to see where things land after the election. And then once they know who's in charge, they'll start to work it out, Bauer said. Now, you and I were talking, it would be nice to see some leadership from congresspersons who, it seems to me, that might be what their job is, and not so much their job to see which way the wind's going to blow. I'm not really looking for the president to tell me
and we don't
what
have
should
to
be
get
in this farm bill.
political and two-sided here to say that I think I'm sick and tired of seeing the branches of government overstepping out of their lane. And this is a congressional thing. Get it done, Congress. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you hear on. Everybody agrees. There's nothing here that everybody doesn't see eye to eye on. But they're trying to make this an executive function, right? It seems like we're dragging our feet to see who gets into the White House to get this done. And I don't know if that's a ploy to where
cares?
The two sides are kind of like, well, okay, one of us can at least take the victory lap then or something. I don't get it. But
this to me seems like if it's not quite a matter of national security, which maybe that's debatable, this is an opportunity for bipartisan cooperation to benefit what can easily be seen as the backbone of this country.
The most beneficial spending we have in the United States is like education and then the farm bill. Like the things that directly benefit actual taxpayers, like everybody, right? Nobody doesn't benefit from that, right? And I'll explain to you how at any angle you want, right? But
Bauer says, so from our reliable sources, we really think our best option is going to be in the lame duck session of Congress. When lawmakers get back to Washington, we would like to see the Senate Agricultural Committee at least advance a bill out of committee. Time is running short, he said. There's enough time to get it done. And if much of it is agreed before the end of the calendar year, it would probably be something that could happen, something that should happen, I would say.
Hey, and then it's really coming down to these committees, it sounds like. From what he said, things aren't getting out of committee.
Political will.
It's unfortunate that, right, it's just a few people sitting around a table.
And here again,
point, right, there are just a few people on
2 weeks removed from the Sustainable Airline Fuel Conference, where you and I sat there all day long listening to how it could be done. And you leave the conference saying, okay, this is just a function of political will.
But I do think, hey, we did learn a lot from, the Wheels Up, No Bull Ag Conference as well. We got to see where there is some movement from other players, right, on the other side of that sustainable aviation fuel spectrum, in the aviation sector, and the end users that are starting to get, hey, trying to, light the fires and get the matches going to get something moving forward. So in other news here, the USDA finds antibiotics in samples of negative antibiotic raised animals. Es no bueno.
Right.
USDA Food Safety and Inspection, a story here from DTN. Inspection Services released new guidelines on Wednesday aimed at strengthening documentation in support of environmental or animal raising label claims on meat and poultry products after a recent study found antibiotics in livestock raised for non-antibiotic markets. Among the guidelines in the USDA call for meat and poultry countries to do more to verify claims that products are being raised antibiotic-free. The FSIS last updated its guidelines on such claims in 2019 the FSIS conducted a study along with the USDA's Agricultural Research Services team aimed at learning more about the veracity of no antibiotic claims. The study found antibiotic residues in approximately 20% of samples tested from those raised without antibiotics on the market. That's 1 in 5. I mean, that seems like a pretty big, error there. The action FSIS is taking through the publishing of guidance today addresses these concerning findings and makes clear that the FSIS will take enforcement action against any establishments found making false or misleading negative antibiotic claims. The agency said in its updated guidelines. The FSIS said it strongly encourages the use of third-party certification to substantiate animal raising or environmental-related claims, and the revised FSIS guidelines also emphasize more robust documentation for environmental-related and animal-raising claims. Additionally, the guidelines recommends companies using negative antibiotic claims on labeling, implement routing, routine sampling. Those making antibiotic claims on labeling implemented routine sampling and testing programs to detect antibiotic use in animals prior to slaughter or obtain third-party certification that includes that testing. Say
that 3 times fast. Right? Holy moly.
That could be one of the longest sentences I've ever read in my life. FSIS said animal raising claims such as raised without antibiotics, grass-fed, free range, and any other environmental related claims such as raised used regenerative agricultural practices. Boy, I'm starting to draw some parallels with this other program we hear coming down the pipeline, right? And climate friendly and voluntary marketing claims. So we are increasingly being governed by regulatory authority and not through our governmental constitutional powers in Congress. That's another discussion for another day. But the EPA and USDA are clearly giving out guidelines in just about every labeling factor for agricultural products that there is going to be some kind of auditing process and hammer that comes down. Handing out, they didn't do it right away for these USDA claims, right? But now there's obviously there's agencies ready, willing, and able to write you a ticket, to write you a citation. I don't know how it works because you're not doing what you claimed you're doing.
If you're going to talk the talk, you better walk the walk.
Well, I'm not so certain that isn't going to be a direction that we go with SAF and that too, which by all means, if it means you make more money, cool. But it's just like your taxes. There's going to be an element of self-attestation that you don't want to be caught up lying about because it's going to, put you behind the 8 ball legally.
Behind the 8 ball legally. No doubt about it.
But so government loving cracking down on their environmental friendly.
We're from the government. We're here to help. Question of the week from producer Carter. It goes a little something like this. If you could instantly speak any language fluently, what would you choose? English.
Chinese.
How about that?
My man.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would be a much better English speaker. Chinese, huh?
Yeah.
Why? Order food better?
I don't know. I just figure I got 1/7 of the world covered if I need to.
I better learn how to pronounce General Cho.
Hedging my life, my bets, right? Hedging my U.S. passport. Learning to speak Chinese.
What language do they speak in Iceland?
It's Icelandic. I think.
Is it? It's Icelandic?
I think it is.
It's like really, really nice to go visit Iceland, isn't it?
I've talked to you about Iceland. I think that Iceland calls, Joe.
There's a couple good reasons to be able to speak Icelandic.
More than one reason.
So Chinese. You could talk to
many billions and also because of people. I come from, and everybody listening probably comes from a primarily European-centric language background. Yeah. The Asian-centric languages, particularly Chinese-centric, nothing like ours. So, I mean, it's about as far. I'm like you. I wish I could speak English well, right? We're faking it till we make it.
Polish.
Right.
Where's my old
when
style?
It comes to language. But it would be great to be able to pick something that complex up like that. Why not?
It takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I mean,
is it Mandarin?
The other half of the world speaks it, right? And we might all have to speak it.
So,
not half.
I don't know. What about Spanish? I guess I could speak some Spanish. You know what I mean?
Go a long way in the United States, right?
Absolutely. absolutely. So
I kind of know enough to get my way around a neighborhood. So like,
right.
That's why I didn't say Spanish, but like, agreed.
I don't have any punchline for that, but I mean, totally so many people that are walking around speaking Spanish. I think that would be probably just as good as Chinese. Maybe both. Maybe if you could learn how to speak Spanish and Chinese, you would probably be good, wouldn't you?
You've really cut. Yeah. I mean, I think there's probably isn't a corner of the world except for Brazil and Portugal that you couldn't go to and get away with finding your way around. All right. Well, thanks for listening and coming and joining us here on our weekly Zaner MarketCast. If you need more just because you can't get enough of us, you can follow us on Facebook at Zaner Ag Hedge or on Twitter and LinkedIn at the Zaner Group. If you have not already, check out our daily Ag Hedge hotline where you can call in every day and hear from our one and only Ted Seidfried, our chief market strategist here at the Zaner Ag Hedge Group.
If I might interrupt for just one second. Lots of people, many people signed up for the Zaner Ag Hedge hotline to get the pro farmer updates. We really appreciate that. If we have called and left you a message, or you would like to speak with us about other things other than that hotline, I've had a lot of people call back and say, hey, listen, we're thinking about doing something with options. We don't have enough experience. We would like to talk with somebody even before we do a dime of business. If there's something else that you would like to talk about, do not hesitate to contact us. Do not hesitate to send an email. Doesn't necessarily have to be about the hotline. We can totally update you on what we see in the markets and what we think would be beneficial for your enterprise even before you sign on the dotted line. So don't hesitate to call if you want to talk.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding us, Joe, that we're not just two talking heads here with a couple of microphones and wise Ted over the phone to give some information. There actually are ways that we can help you and a lot of information we can, guide you with.
More than happy to speak with you.
Anyway, the best part about that hotline too, it's free, as is all the conversations and dialogues you'll ever have with us. Absolutely. Give us a call. You can find us and find out more with the sign-up links that we provided. Thank you again, and be sure to like, comment, and drop us a follow on this podcast to not miss a beat. And we'll be back with you all as price action develops. Have a great and blessed Labor Day weekend, everybody. Enjoy those burgers, hot dogs, beer, and brats.
Enjoy.
Have a good one, everybody.